Hi, I'm Shane.
And I'm Miranda. We're Chicky. Join us as we undertake our biggest road trip to date, 5 months around Australia in a 4-wheel drive.
After a year of closed borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were finally able to travel from New Zealand to our closest neighbour, my home country of Australia.
Each episode will take you to a different region in this diverse continent and get up close to its unique wildlife, camping in the Outback and Aussie bush.
If you've ever wanted to explore Australia, then this series is for you. Join us on Global Travel Stories.
This episode picks up in the Red Centre with some spectacular hiking in the West MacDonnell Ranges.
After a break in the Alice, we head north to the top end with stops at the Devil's Marbles, Bitter Springs and Nitmuluk before arriving into Kakadu for a wildlife spectacular in Australia's largest national park.
Follow our journey on Global Travel Stories.
In our last episode, we explored the Red Centre, including Uluru, Katashuta, Kings Canyon and Red Bank Gorge in the West MacDonnell Ranges. So we're here at Ormiston Gorge. We're about to do the Ormiston Gorge Pound Loop walk, so it's a 3 to 4 hour walk, and then we'll come down to the gorge at the end and have a little bit of a zip.
Within moments of hitting the trail, we were drawn into the scenery with blooming desert flowers and flocks of budgerigars. Inside the pound right now, which is this walled region right here. It's kind of like being inside of a prison at the moment. Sort of like a crater in the middle here of the West MacDonnell Ranges. We'll make our way through this valley and then eventually down to the waterhole. Wind is nice today, which is sort of a little bit of relief from the heat. I think it's supposed to hit over 30 today, so getting close to the middle of the day at the moment. Within the pound, the red rock and dry grass began to bake under the beating sun, forcing Spinifex pigeons to search for a quick meal before the heat of the midday sun. Feeling this is supposed to be the infamous river crossing, but being the end of the dry season, there's not really much of a river left. Just a couple of shallow pools and no crossing in sight, just a riverbed. Okay, we're about to enter into Ormiston Gorge itself. We're really looking forward to cooling off, but this hike has been absolutely amazing so far. I would put it up there with Kings Canyon. Personally, I probably prefer it a little bit just because of all the beautiful wildflowers and vistas that we've had, but it'd be a hard choice out of the two. We've done some great hikes on this trip, but the red center has really blown us away. Some fantastic scenery and landscapes through here.
So we just entered into the gorge now, and thank goodness it was so hot out there. But as soon as we entered into here, temperature dropped about 10 degrees. There's a nice cool breeze. The iconic gorges of the West MacDonnell Ranges are a haven for wildlife seeking refuge from the desert heat. About 350 million years ago, deep tectonic pressures caused a major mountain building event resulting in the creation of the MacDonnell Ranges. The many gaps and gorges that you see today are a result of millions of years of folding, faulting, and erosion since that event.
So this is the infamous river crossing. So far, it's not too bad. The water is cold though. So this is the deep part here, is it, honey?
A little further is the deep part.
I can feel it. It's getting up to my pants now. Whew. There we go. Probably should have put on my swimming shorts. So here at Ormiston Gorge, which is renowned for being icy cold, even in the summer months when it reaches 50 degrees outside, people can still suffer from hypothermia in here. And I'm going to take the plunge, I suppose. Cold. Very cold. So we're down here at the big hole in Ellery Creek. I've got my amazing fashion accessory for the red center and we're about to go for a swim because it's like 35 freaking degrees right now.
We awoke at our Ellery Creek campground to the sound of large flocks of budgies joyfully zooming around, weaving through the bush and gorge. This is where birds belong, in the sky.
After a short walk on the Dolomite Trail, it was time for a quick dip before hitting the road.
So we went for a bit of a swim here yesterday. I'm already prepared for how freezing this water is. Apparently it's 10 or 11 degrees. Sitting here on the precipice, I don't know if I can do it. Even the wind's cold here. Like, I suppose it's just gonna go in. Shit. We're about to head into Standley Chasm in the West MacDonnell Ranges, which I believe is the deepest or steepest chasm in the West MacDonnell Ranges. Anyway, there is an entry fee to get in, which is $12 per person, and that's because it's privately owned traditional indigenous land. But yeah, it's supposed to be a really spectacular site, so we're really looking forward to checking it out. Got the old cycads here. Prehistoric plants. That's what dinosaurs used to snack on. Looks pretty sharp.
Today, the Standley Chasm is fully owned and operated by the Western Arunda community. The chasm was traditionally a sacred place for women's dreaming and therefore remains of high cultural importance for the community.
The Standley Chasm is 80 metres tall and is 3 metres in width. The chasm is known traditionally as Anglerli Atwati, meaning gap of water, which makes a lot of sense in regards to its geological formation. Millions of years ago, the Standley Chasm was a small section of the Finke River. Since then, the erosion from rainfall and flooding carved the sandstone cliffs of the chasm that you see today.
West MacDonnell Ranges. Absolutely amazing. We really enjoyed our time here and our hiking adventures. Now we're heading to Alice Springs, where we'll be there for 2 nights, catch up on quite a few things before we head up north.
So we're just crossing over the bridge now, over the aquatic splendor that is the Todd River in the background there. Heading into the Alice Springs. Today's pretty much a down day. Not going to do that much sightseeing, maybe a little shopping, and yeah, just checking out a little bit of Alice, I suppose.
So we've just exited the Royal Flying Doctor Service Museum in Alice Springs, and it's quite impressive. If you don't know what the Royal Flying Doctor Service is, it's basically a medical service provided to those that live in the remote areas such as the Outback, where they don't live close to hospitals, and they can reach them through planes and assist them medically that way. And it's quite impressive what they're doing. And what we've learned is on this $20 note right here, there's actually John Flynn, the founder of the Royal Flying Doctor Service on there, and his camel that they used to ride before they had planes to reach the people in the Outback with their medical emergencies. And then we have the plane called Victory, which was the very first plane that they started using to fly all over the Outback. And yeah, there's quite a few other things. There's a compass here as well.
So you wouldn't think it, but we're in the middle of the Outback, in the middle of the dry season. We've got rain, torrential rain pretty much all day. We're gonna head right now across to the reptile centre. You know, we are going to just go and check out some of the Outback reptiles, but also as well, it's the closest place to where we are at the moment, so it gets us out of the rain. Should be pretty cool though. Looking forward to it. It's good. Juvenile sand goanna.
I told you some reptiles like to cuddle.
Yeah, there you go.
Many of the snakes fall into the world's most venomous category, which Australia has 20 out of the top 25. The park workers convinced us the moisture in the air from the rain brings the usually docile desert reptiles to life.
These guys here, the Perenties, are Australia's largest lizard. Can you give him a pet?
See that blue tongue?
Oh yeah.
She's not doing it?
No.
She's camera shy.
I don't know that she copies.
That's all good.
Kelly! Oh my god.
Just trying to find somewhere warm on you, which is nowhere.
Nowhere, because I'm always cold.
You're not warm enough.
Basically,
Pretty warm in
isn't
this jacket.
Driving day today, heading down Stewart Highway, which is just a long straight road that goes right through up to Darwin. We're heading to the Devil's Marbles, going 130 kilometers per hour, which is the fastest, I think, speed limit in the country, so pretty fast.
So you wouldn't know it, but we're actually in Outback, Australia right now, one of the driest places on earth, and we're in the middle of torrential rain. They say that you have sunshine here about 300 days out of the year, and we've sort of landed on those 65, one of those 65 days where it's pouring down. So yeah, probably good for the people locally. I'm sure they love it, but kind of sucks for us. We were planning to go to the Devil's Marbles, which was just a fantastic sight, big beautiful rock boulders in the desert. We might still just stop there briefly on the way through, but I think we're gonna head up north to Tennant Creek. We're gonna do a nice big barbecue under the campfire tonight. It's just not gonna happen, so yeah, just have to roll with the punches and can't control the weather, I suppose. Let's do it. Oh, and by the way, we're in the UFO capital of Australia, Wycliffe Well. There's aliens everywhere. I think they've taken over the place. Hopefully we don't have any earthquakes tonight. It's right up the hill from us.
So we decided to brave the rain and we're camping overnight tonight here in the Devil's Marbles. It's not so bad anymore. It was pouring down before. We are in the Outback. I'm gonna go for a little bit of a walk, check out some of these magnificent ones. So we're currently on the Nurku walk, which is Aboriginal in this area for these types of gum trees that they have right here. And we're in Kakadu National Park, a place known as the Devil's Marbles. And this region here is all made of granite, so all these stones here are made from a volcanic eruption that it took place 1,700 million years ago. Kind of hard to comprehend that sort of number, and over time the granite slab that was formed from that volcanic layer eroded away slowly and eventually turned into these marble shapes that we have right here. It's kind of crazy to think that, to be honest. They're so smooth and round. This is a sacred place for the traditional Kalu people from the area as well. They used to believe that there were a type of people that lived in the caves underneath the system here, almost kind of like a spiritual type people, and they used to lure unsuspecting people down into the caves to become part of them. And they would come up here quite regularly and hold rituals for all the people that had gone missing, trying to sort of bring them back out of the caves.
So that was the absolute definition of a bad sleep. One of the downsides of having a rooftop tent is when it is windy, it seriously feels like you're in an earthquake. Everything moves and shakes and bangs and slaps. So there are downsides, and today is a long drive, 7 hours worth of driving, hopefully up to Mataranka, Bitter Springs. Do a little stop via Tennant Creek today, and also the historic Daly Waters pub. Anything Chicky wants to add to that? She's good to go.
Got my brownie.
She's got a brownie. She's happy, as you can be with minimal sleep. Let's do it. Goodbye, Devil's Marbles.
I'm at the historical telegraph station in Tennant Creek. This was built in 1872 as a way of connecting the southern parts of Australia across the seas. Basically, there's an underwater telegraph cable connecting through Indonesia, and this is one of the crucial settlements and stations along the way up through the center of Australia. I think this was actually the first one built as well. the historic Daily Waters pub. Gonna stop in for a quick beer and maybe a little snack.
The Daily Waters pub was first built in the 1930s. In its early days, it experienced some real wild western scenes such as shootouts, drunken brawls, and cattle stampedes through town.
You got a bra to throw up? No. They're gonna throw one up there? It's pretty cool, right?
The pub is decorated with bras, hats, and all sorts of guest belongings. This is due to each visitor being encouraged to leave their mark, a tradition that started in the 1980s.
Flying foxes, otherwise known as fruit bats, are among some of the world's largest bat species, with a wingspan of up to 1 metre. Bats are the only group of mammals capable of actively flying, and fossils show that flying foxes have been around for more than 35 million years. Flying foxes play a crucial role in keeping native forests healthy, as they are highly mobile pollinators. Pollen sticks well to their furry bodies as they fly between flowering plants and trees. Their diet consists of flowers, fruit, and even leaves. The seeds of what they consume is dispersed through their scat as they fly great distances, maintaining forests rich in biodiversity.
Just here at Bitter Springs near Mataranka. The recommendation is to always get here early if you can, or on a cooler day, because we are about to go into some hot springs up in the tropics. I think it's going to reach 37 degrees today outside, so now it's nice, cool, early 20s. Looking forward to this. I was here like 20 odd years ago and it was absolutely amazing. That's warm. It's commonly referred to as a thermal spring, but it's technically not a thermal spring because it's not heated the water. It runs through an aquifer underground, 33 degrees Celsius from the Barclay Tableland. So it's warm water, but it's not geothermally heated or anything like that. I'm just gonna float down this croc-infested river. Hey, there are freshies in here.
They're freshies, apparently. The Bitter Springs thermal pools are a great place to stop and relax near Mataranka. Don't forget to bring a floaty, as the spring provides a great opportunity to float down the stream before reaching the exit via the ladder before the bridge. You can then walk back to the start and begin the float again.
It looks deep. So after our morning at Bitter Springs, we've travelled about an hour and a half north up to Nitmiluk National Park. We're at the Edith Falls campground, which is quite nice, beautiful, and it's been relaxing. A little bit of a change for us arriving to a campground quite early, and we sort of appreciated just relaxing and having lunch. And there's a little bowerbird sort of nesting right next to us, jumping around, a little bit curious, and we had some squawking galahs as well, which is pretty cool. We're heading out to the falls themselves right now, do a little bit of swimming and also go for a little bit of a hike up to the plunge pools. So we're at Edith Falls right now, which for the local indigenous Jawoyn people was a very, very important place. And it was known as Lelian. I think that's how you pronounce it. Lelian. I think Lelian. We're at the upper pool right now. I'm about to go for another dip after our strenuous 1 kilometer walk, 1.5 kilometer walk. It was tough. That is cool. All right, here we go. So we're at the Bamang lookout, and according to Aboriginal Dreamtime stories, Bamang is right here, the frillneck lizard who came from the north and created this pool.
Kakadu National Park now, which is exciting. We're heading to Maguk as our first stop. We'll have lunch and swim in the water hole. Then for sunset tonight, we're doing a Yellow River sunset cruise on the Yellow River Billabong. Apparently tons of bird life and stuff like that. Crocs as well. So we're excited about that.
We're heading right now to Maguk, which is plunge pool and waterfall. According to our ranger that we just spoke to, it's pretty much the only accessible plunge pool in the national park this time of year. We are in the middle of the dry season and they haven't had rain for, I think he said 6 months, which is pretty bad. So most of the pools have turned into sort of sludgy billabongs, and apparently the crocodiles are coming further and further into the park at the moment. So a lot of places that might be flowing are definitely out of swimming sort of range. Our plan yesterday was to go to Jim Falls, but the ranger had sort of advised that the falls aren't flowing at the moment. Also Twin Falls, which is nearby, are also dry too, and the watering holes aren't really suitable for swimming, which is not great. Problem is that we've come here at a time when it's really, really hot. We're looking at 38 degrees Celsius, which is what in Fahrenheit, like 1,000?
Mid-90s, I think.
No, I think it's like 100 because it's double, add 30, yeah, it'd be like 105. So there you go, 105 Fahrenheit for the Americans there. Either way, it's freaking hot and we've got nowhere to swim tomorrow. So we just have to play it by ear, but for now we're going to enjoy these plunge pools, take advantage of them while they're here, and check out the beautiful escarpment that makes up the Kakadu National Park. So much for no rain in 6 months, eh? Imagine doing this in the wet season.
Even though the waterhole itself is designated for swimming, saltwater or estuarine crocodiles commonly inhabit these areas in the wet season.
So they say stay out of the river, and then part of the trail is you have to cross the river. so pristine and inviting, and such a hot day. Oh, the water temperature is amazing too. Perfect in every way until boom. Well, it's called a plunge pool, right? Woo! Kakadu. What do you think, Tiki? It's amazing, right? Check it out. It gets cooler under the waterfall. Woo.
Traps are set along the outlets from the waterhole and are checked regularly in the dry season. However, common sense plays a huge role in safety. Following national park advice is paramount.
From Maguk, we headed to the Yellow River Billabong, a place you certainly wouldn't dare to go swimming.
I feel like the fences are vital at this point. Alright, Shiki, where are we?
At the Yellow River.
Yellow River, what are we about to do?
Cruise about it.
Yeah.
Within minutes of departing, we met our first salty, most likely a female due to its smaller size.
That's not a very big crocodile. It could be a male or a female. This one in here, let's have a look. Crocodiles don't generally stalk each other. But if that was a female, say, in the spot, in the fishing area of another female.
As our guide explained how unlikely female-to-female confrontations occur, our ambushed croc decided to strike and force the other from the land. A chase then ensued in the water.
Resulting in not too much. Next up, we did spot a much larger male, however, which can regularly grow up to 6 meters. We soon realized this section of the river was full of crocs, cut off from the ocean in the dry season when the river ceases to flow, forming a natural dam. Given their abundance, we soon focused our attention on the rich bird life of the wetlands. Catching our eye was one of the more striking inhabitants of the Billabong, the Jabiru stork.
Magpie geese, whistling ducks, pelicans, and whistling kites were all in abundance.
Spotting a white-bellied seagull is always an event. On this trip, we spotted not only one, but 3.
All this stuff is left over from the early pastoral days, the early pastoral leases.
Feral animals play a major role in damaging the landscape and the delicate balance of the ecosystem in Kakadu National Park. Among the feral animals are Asian water buffalo, pigs, horses, cats, dogs, and cane toads. During our time there, we came across many water buffalo in particular that are known for degrading soils and vegetation extensively.
So that broadbill flycatcher's at about the 10 o'clock position, and the Asua kingfisher's at the 11 o'clock position on that mangrove. And now you get to see the show, guys. I'll try to not get the shadow in the way. Here we go. Now she's going to show us how complicated it is to actually get that fish into the throat. There we go. Now we got to look out for whistling kites, because the whistling kite will always try to steal the fish, especially when you've got such an unconventional and complicated method for getting the fish into the throat.
Mating for life, white-bellied seagulls generally come in pairs.
As the sun began to sink, we were set up for the perfect location to witness the evening's main attraction. The jabiru has one last catch before he takes to the sky. He is joined by all the other birds departing the wetland as the day gives way to night.
Some of the more curious encounters were left for last, including a pheasant kukul in the middle of his breeding plumage change, as well as a sacred kingfisher.
That was a chicken.
As the oranges turned to red and purple, we concluded our journey and returned to our nearby camp at Mardugal to be greeted by a friendly bush possum.
A little possum. So this is how you roast veg from the campfire. Look at that. Yum, yum, yum.
In the next episode,
So we did have plans today, but they were slightly interrupted by this.
We explored deeper into Australia's largest national park, venturing from Kakadu into Arnhem Land. learning about local wildlife and indigenous culture.
We take a ride on the Adelaide River to view the famous jumping crocodiles.
And take a much-needed city break in Darwin, the capital of the territory, learning of its World War II history and experiencing the famous Mindle Beach sunset markets.
We head to the waterfall capital of the top end in Litchfield National Park.
And return to Darwin one last time before meeting family in Catherine and saying farewell to the Northern Territory.
For these adventures and more, join us on Global Travel Stories. At Global Travel Stories, we want to hear what you'd like to see more of. Please leave a comment below and remember to like and subscribe for our big adventures coming soon.